Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Fatin Nurmiiza Maisarah. My metric number is 261694 and my chosen topic for this assignment is the US and China trade war. First of all, we all know that US and China hold two largest economies in the world. In 2018, the trade war between US and China has started when Donald Trump places a 25% duties on around 34 billion of imports from China, including cars, hard disks, and aircraft parts. So the US making accusations against the China of unfair trade practices and intellectual property theft. China then retaliates by imposing tariff as well, and start from that, the war keep going to this day. So this trade war can be defined as an interstate conflict that related to the economic, cultural, and political dispute. In this kind of war, the countries involved tends to enact trade protectionist measures in the form of trade barriers against each other. As each country erects a trade barrier, the other will respond with a policy of its own, and as a result, the concept of warring emerges. Next, we move to the theoretical framework. So there are some theories related to this war. Firstly, the trade war between US and China is really close to the theory called realism. Realism is the theory that describes the rise and fall of great powers and the state of war. In addition, national interest is really important for a state, and national interest can be achieved by using power. Thus, according to realists, states are the primary actors in the international arena as they act in pursuit of their own national interests and compete for power. Back to the US and China style of conflict economy, we can see that both countries are actually competing to expand their power. Second is the great power politics. So what is the great power politics? Both countries are the great powers. So according to this concept, both of these countries are trying to expand their influence to the world. As a proof, China is trying to make a rise and influence the East Asian region by using economy, which they are good at, which using free trade. Meanwhile, the goal of the US is to stay as regional hegemon, which to make sure that there are no other countries can dominate its region of the world. This war can be related to the national security. When economic order system gives benefits to just one great power. Unlike the US, China has reaped several benefits from the global economic order system since President Trump's election. Then, Trump has adopted policies of engagement to integrate China in the global economy after noticing that they did not receive the same benefits. To change the system, the US has imposed a huge tariff on Chinese goods. So from the realism practice, it eventually leads to trade war, which can be defined as the use of protectionism as its main concept. In general, a country will implement protectionist measures in economy to defend native industries and employment against international competition. Under this strategy, protectionists tend to sanction tariff and tax imports, which instantly raises the price of imported goods. Besides, they also use subsidies, import quotas, and currency manipulation to depreciate the value of their currency. In this case, US mostly impose tariffs and quotas on import against China. Next, for your information, there are already several solution approaches have been taken to stop the conflict between the US and China. However, most did not last long. So some of the approaches including the ceasefire, which has happened 2 times. First ceasefire has been signed by Trump and Xi Jinping in December 2018 when they announced it on G20 meeting in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and it was 90 days truce. Apart from that, a negotiation also has been made on G20 summit Japan on June 2019. After attempting to conclude a long trade conflict between the economic hubs, Trump called ties with China back to normal. Next, another solution has been made by them is the Phase 1 trade deal in 2020. Officials from the Trump administration indicated that unresolved issues will be addressed in the future meetings, but there are no immediate preparations for the next round of discussion. Next, we go to the conflict analysis and resolution suggestions. So according to the timeline of the trade war, the level of this conflict has reached level 4, which is the consequences. So here, level 1 is the pre-conflict, where there are incompatibility goals between US and China when in 2001, China's overseas trade developed quickly and the US felt challenged with the China's capabilities in economy, which they think China might overtaken their power to be the world hegemon. On level 2, which is confrontation, the US kicked off the war in 2018 with the attack on China with levied on 25% tariff on China's imports, including their major imports. Then China retaliated by slapping a 25% tax on $545 billion worth of imports items. Start from that, both countries keep continuing retaliates against each other. On the third level, the war reached its climax when they had already made a negotiation, but the US broke it in 2019. On the fourth level, which is consequences, there was 2 times ceasefires had been signed and one phase trade deal had been made. However, the war is still ongoing until now, even it's not so obvious. So this is the conflict 3 of the trade war between US and China. So the causes of this trade war is the protectionism, realism, great power struggle, national interest, and national security. And from the causes, it leads to the main problem, which is the US-China trade war. And then there are several effects came from the war, which is adverse effect on US manufacturing, slowdown of global economy, economic activities interrupted, policy uncertainty, trade deficit, and slowdown of global trade flows. So we can see that this trade war not only affect the 2 countries but also the global. Lastly, there are several solution suggestions can be taken to end this trade war. First possible way can be implemented by the US and China in settling the trade dispute is by using a trade negotiation. Even though they have already made a negotiations and failed before, but it might be a great idea if the US and China government immediately resume the negotiations with a new resolution on reducing trade barriers and strengthening provisions that allow business to compete fairly and transparently. Second suggested solution to end this issue is by using mediation. So in this case, any countries that got affected by this trade war can be the mediator. A good mediation for these 2 countries might help finding their same interests and ending the dispute peacefully. Apart from mediation, arbitration also one of the preferable way in ending the conflict. So arbitration is a process in which a neutral third party itself make a decision to settle the problem. So according to this case, World Trade Organization or WTO could be the arbitrator since it is the international organization in dealing with the rules of trade between nations. In fact, WTO has a dispute settlement mechanism forum which works under the General Agreement on Tariff and Trade or GATT. So that's all from me. Thank you for watching.